I have a really big question for you. That is there a way that you can start selling your art right now, today? If you're wanting to be selling your art, whether you want to sell a lot or a little, we're going to show you some techniques today that will help you jump right in. Maybe today will be the day that opens your eyes and gives you a path to selling your art. You've stumbled into the right place. This is Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon. Today is Marketing Monday, so we talk a lot about things. Today we're going to talk about things people have submitted, like how to sell commissions, paintings for other people, social media, converting followers to buyers, raising prices, where to start to sell, and a lot more. And if you're new here, I'm 𝗬𝘳𝗏. I'm the founder of several art magazines, newsletters, conferences for artists, and other things. And I've been helping artists and galleries for decades. Far too many decades, maybe. My superpower is the business of art, and I've spent my career marketing and selling products, a lot of products, including some big national brands that you probably would recognize, but I'm under NDA. I can't talk about it. Anyway, let's get this show officially started.
It's Art School Live with 𝗬𝘳𝗏. Now, here's your host, 𝗬𝘳𝗏.
You know, I'm going to read a lot of things that people have submitted, a lot of questions that they've submitted by email. You can also submit questions in the chat if you want to, and I'll try to grab some of those. And sometimes, once in a while, some brave person will come on camera and say, hey, they want to go on and ask a question live, and then I can kind of personally consult them and give them a little more in-depth answer, because I can get a two-way conversation going. If you want to do that, just go to artschool.live/stream. You can also send your questions to me, Eric@streamlinepublishing.com. You ready to get into it? Here we go. All right. Lisa Alvarez from Michigan. I love it when you guys tell me where you're from. Now, be exact, right? Tell me where in Michigan you're from. This is really helpful. You don't have to tell me your street address. Okay. Lisa says, I'm an artist, but I have been listening to a book on how to collect art, which puts so much emphasis on making money versus enjoying the work. It is stressing me out. What percentage of collectors do you think are purchasing for their own enjoyment versus for investment purposes? Well, Lisa, we don't want you to be stressed out, but there's a couple of things to keep in mind. First out, why do you care? Why do you care if they are buying for investment purposes versus buying for enjoyment purposes? I mean, chances are most people are not going to buy a piece of art that they don't enjoy, even for an investment. Now, that maybe changes once you get into the stratosphere of, collecting Rothko or Pollock or Bouguereau or Rembrandt or something like that. But, there are people who buy those things to hold on to them and sell them later. But most people are buying something they enjoy, hoping maybe that they will go up in value. But there's a difference between a collector and a buyer. And there's a lot of different levels of collector. So the level of collector you're referring to are the people who buy strictly for investment purposes. By the way, there are even companies that they're basically like hedge funds. They buy art and they hope they will appreciate, and you can be a part of those by investing in those. They're going to take art that they think is going to go places. They're going to buy it. They're going to throw it in a warehouse. They're going to wait 10 or 20 years, and then they're going to sell it and hopefully make big money on it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think in your particular case, what you want to do is focus on buyers who are interested in you and interested in your work, Lisa. So I would just focus on, I wouldn't worry about getting all stressed out about what kind of collectors or buyers are going to buy your work. Well, the only thing you have to worry about is how to get them to buy your work and how to get in front of them and how to make them want to buy your work. If they have a choice between you, Lisa, or they have a choice between me, Eric, what are you going to do to get them to buy your piece of art instead of my piece of art? Interesting observation somebody meant the other day. I was doing a last Friday I do composition and I do critiques. And somebody mentioned the idea that if you have an arrow like pointing out of your painting, it's going to make somebody go from your painting to the next painting. So don't do that. But really what you want to do is you want to establish your brand. You want to get well known to the people that you're going after. And being well known helps make a difference in the amount of price that you get. It makes a difference in why they would select you versus somebody else, because they might consider you more important. And those things matter, and they do make a difference. So figure out just how to sell something. And I think that listen to the rest of this show and we'll tell you how to sell something, right? Next up, we have Nadia from Brooklyn. Nadia says, I'm starting to work with interior designers who want custom pieces. How do I price commissions fairly without underselling myself or scaring them off? Well, I'm going to question you guys a lot. First off, what does fairly mean? And what in your mind is fairly, and why does being fair matter when it comes to pricing your work, right? So the reason I say that, excuse me, I had somebody come to me one time and they said, I want to price my work fairly. And I said, well, what does fairly mean to you? And they said, well, I want the average person to be able to buy my artwork. I said, why? And they said, well, I think it would be nice because I've never been able to afford artwork. And so I would buy work that I could afford. I want people to be able to afford my work. And I said, okay, that's a beautiful thing. That's nice of you to do that. But what if selling something fairly meant that you didn't make the living that you deserved? Whereas if you came up with an unfair price and it sold at an unfair price, which is better, selling at a higher price so that some other collector who's willing to pay a higher price is willing to buy your work, or pricing it for the low end market? Only you can decide that, right? And so if that's important to you, then do that. But I think that what you want to do is price your work. When I say fairly, it's different. What you want to do is be fair to yourself, right? Think about this. You're spending a lot of time on your artwork. Sometimes you're spending a minute or two. Sometimes you're spending hours or two, right? I did a painting last night because I'm going to dinner with some people and I wanted to give them a painting, right? So I spent maybe only a couple hours on it. It was watercolor painting. And, you know, I didn't have to spend a lot of time, but I spent 20 years figuring out how to do it. I watched a lot of Watercolor Live figuring out how to do it. I hosted Watercolor Live figuring out how to do it. And so you want to get paid fairly for the time that you've invested in learning your craft. And so you ask yourself, what is a price that is going to be establishing a reputation and keeping yourself from being underpaid? Here's the deal. Most designers don't care about price. Look, here's the deal. I said that before, didn't I? I have a friend who's a designer. She designed a house that did the interior of a house for a billionaire with a B, right? She spent, get this, $200,000 on a custom couch. $200,000. You and I are like, what? How can you spend $200,000 on a couch? The budget for the interior of the house, it was a $20 million house. The budget for the interior was several $1 million. And so do you think that that person is going to be sensitive to the price of the painting that she's picking? Now, I was dealing with a designer one time and a dealer one time. And the designer said to the dealer, I was kind of an intermediary, and the designer said to the dealer, listen, I need something with a lot of blues and teal in it. And he said, well, what kind of a painting? She said, I don't want something modern. I want something traditional. So he found a painting that was a very traditional seascape painting, and she fell in love with it. She said, "I'll take it." And he said, "Well, don't you want to know how much it is?" She said, "It doesn't matter. I've got a big budget." And so he charged, it was a $200,000 painting. She didn't blink. She's going to get a piece of that no matter what. She gets a piece of everything that she sells. And so designers, for the most part, unless they're designing, inexpensive homes somewhere, they're probably more likely to want to pick something expensive, because if they can sell a $200,000 couch instead of a $10,000 couch, or a $1,000 couch, or a $200 couch, then she's going to make some percentage on that. I don't know what the percentage is. So I would be less concerned about that. I would not be worried about that. And by the way, designers are a great way to go. I have a coaching group. I've got several people in my coaching group, and one of the people in the group wanted to start talking to designers, and I gave him some advice on that. And now he's making commissions for designers, and they don't care about price typically. All right. If you guys have not subscribed to this program, let's do it. Let's do it right now. Go to YouTube, look up Art School Live, and hit the subscribe button, and give me a follow wherever it is that you happen to be watching or whatever. Okay. Matt from Utica, New York. Is it better to focus on growing one platform really well, or should I try to be everywhere? Should I be on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and Pinterest? And, there's 30 other things. All right, guys, listen. I'm going to repeat myself 1,000 times, 100,000 times. Quit asking stupid questions. No, it's not a stupid question. It's the problem with it is, and I'm not trying to be down on you here, Matt, it's the wrong question. The question is, what is my strategy to sell artwork? Because, every week it's strategy versus tactic, right? Strategy is the plan, how you're going to sell your artwork, who you're going to talk to. If, let's say, for instance, you decided you were going to sell your artwork to 12-year-olds, right? So then you have to figure out, well, where do 12-year-olds spend their time? How do I reach 12-year-olds? So, of course, that's not really a market for you, probably. It's not for most people. But let's say you wanted to target retired people. And why would you ever want to target retired people? Because retired people have oftentimes have second homes. They oftentimes have plenty of money. Some do, some don't. They have saved their money their whole life. They don't have as much resistance. Or, maybe you're targeting 30-year-olds. So you've got 30-year-old tech executives. So if you're targeting 30-year-old tech executives, you're going to go to some place where tech executives hang out, right? What websites do they hang out on? What do they read? Where do they spend their time? What parties do they go to? Those are the kinds of things. So you need to first understand, who am I going after? And if your answer to that question is everybody, then you're not going to sell anybody. If you can narrow your targets down, the more narrow your target is, the more likely you're going to be able to sell to them. So let's say that you were creating something. You said art for retired people, and then you gave them a reason for why your art is good for retired people. Or it could be art for cancer patients. I know that seems crazy, but a friend of mine tells me a story about a cancer patient who bought a painting because it helped her get through her treatment. So, there's a lot of different angles you could take. So figure out the angle, and the angle will help you figure out the platform, right? So it might be an online platform. It might be an offline platform. It might be direct mail. It might be in person something. It might be shows. It could be a lot of different things. And that's why you need to figure that stuff out first. Now, getting to answer your question, what platform should you be on? That goes back to, where is the target you're spending time on? Are they spending time on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest? Pick one and do it really well. The reality is that if you're doing any social media well, you're posting something at least once every day, and sometimes more than once every day. If you're doing YouTube well, that's a whole different story. And so you've got to do it well and do it right and come up with the right stories, the right content, the things that are going to matter to people. And therefore, do one thing really well. If you have some extra time, then you can add another thing and another thing and another thing, but don't spread yourself too thin. That focus. I tried to hire a guy the other day, and I said, he's working on another project. And I said, well, will you work on my project too? And he says, no. He said, I need intense focus for the next 30 days. He said, call me in 30 days. Once I've got this figured out, then I'll give you 30 days of intense focus. I said, I'm in, baby. That's what I like. So focus. Focus on strategy, not tactic. All right, Sophia. And I don't know where Sophia is from. Sophia says, I've been consistently posting my paintings and behind the scenes processes on Instagram for over a year. I've gained some followers, but my sales are still inconsistent. I'm starting to wonder if I'm attracting the wrong audience. How can I adjust my content so that it connects more with potential collectors while still being authentic to me? There's a lot to unpack here, Sophia. Well, first off, congrats on posting frequently and posting on Instagram for over a year. I saw an Instagram expert interviewed the other day, and he said, be patient, right? Sometimes it takes time for Instagram's algorithm to pick up and start putting you out to more people. You've gained some followers. I don't know what some means. Some could be 10, some could be 100, some could be 100,000, but my sales are still inconsistent. I'm going to start out and say, first off, if I had your Instagram page and I could go look at it, I could tell you potentially exactly what's wrong. But there's a couple of things that I would be worried about. First off, I love the question, am I attracting the wrong audience? And you might be. Now, here's one of the things. Who loves to see paintings in progress? Other painters. Who doesn't love to see paintings in progress? People who buy paintings. They don't care. They just, maybe some of them do. But I don't think people ultimately care about, the process. I have a rule. I don't typically post my paintings in progress because what happens is people don't notice that you say it's in progress. They just see it and they go, oh, that's a bad painting. And they go, oh, Eric Rhodes, he's a bad painter. No, well, that's why I don't do that. And so I was tempted the other day because I took this giant painting down to the waterfall and I painted on it and got my picture in front of it. And I wanted to post that picture, but then I thought, no, it's not done. It's just people are going to assume I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I don't. So I would be, the first thing I would say is if you're doing content that is about your behind the scenes, painting in progress or whatever, it might not appeal to the collector. Now, how could you appeal to a collector? Well, you could first off make it all about your art, but you could also make it about other people's art. For instance, if let's say that you were painting like Monet, if you are, congratulations, that's a beautiful thing. And then you could say, you could post paintings of paintings that have inspired you. And you could post a painting of a Monet painting, and then you could say, this painting inspired this painting. So it keeps it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more educational. So think about that. Now, you also said, how can I adjust my content so it connects more with potential collectors while still being authentic to me? I think what you mean by being authentic to you is not doing something that's out of character for you. Sometimes you got to get a little out of your comfort zone and get a little out of character. That doesn't mean being sleazy. I don't recommend that by any stretch, but sometimes you got to push yourself a little bit. And the biggest thing that most people do wrong on Instagram, Facebook, and others is they don't actually tell people how to buy something. Now, there are people who I have studied over the years who say, tell them exactly what to do. I'm not advocating this. I'm just telling you what they say. They will say, this painting is for sale. I take credit cards. do the following 3 steps. Go to this website, find the painting, or link to this website to the painting, pull out your credit card, click the buy button, put your credit card in. I mean, they will tell people exactly what to do, because the idea is eliminate all forms of resistance. Because we get people all the time who don't know how to buy stuff from us. It's like, well, just press the button and put your credit card in. That's what you're thinking. But for some people, that's hard. And so we have to help them, and you have to help them. So look for ways, but at bare minimum, you want to have what's called a call to action. And you can do very direct call to action. This painting is available for sale. Just click the bio button to learn more. Or you can put a link thing in it, and it'll link to it. And what you want to do is, whenever possible, you want to create some scarcity. This is a one of a kind. This is my favorite painting I've done all year, and I'm only going to be able to sell it to one person. So that creates a little bit of speed. Or I'm selling this, I'm making this available for the next 24 hours. Otherwise, it's going to go in my vault for a year. All right. You can do a lot of things like that, but don't lie. If you tell them you're going to do something, do it. Don't lie, because you want to be truthful. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go into the comments and see if we got anybody in here. See if I can. Okay. I live in a city where there's an art guild. When I moved here, the artists were selling their original work alongside prints, greeting cards, and other knickknacks and paddywhacks. They kept telling me the originals didn't sell. For years, I tried to tell them they were underselling themselves. I never sold anything but expensive originals. They sold. It took the other artists a long time to stop underselling their own work. Now they have almost all gone to selling their original work and are making, looks like it says, no more prints. Okay, so that's a great observation. I think, I like prints. I think prints are a really good thing to do, but they will oftentimes prevent somebody from buying something bigger. But most people who would not buy something bigger would buy a print for $50 or $100. And so that's a good way to get some business. I watched a guy, one of my buddies, Guy Morrow, at an art show. Somebody bought a print, and he said, "Have you seen the original?" And they said, "No." He walked them over to the original, and they ended up buying the original. So sometimes it's a leader to something else. So that's a good observation. You have a question, put it in the link. Telling people how to buy my paintings is exactly the right step. Okay. Okay, next we have, let's see, who do we have next? We have Yasmin in Portland. Yasmin says, I am planning my first online art launch. That's interesting. What's the best way to build anticipation and get people ready to buy on launch day? I'm a big fan of a guy by the name of 𝗬𝗏. Somebody put that in the chat. 𝗬𝗏 is doing a book launch right now, and he's been teasing it for about 3 or 4 weeks, and all the reasons you need to sign up for it, and that, all the bonuses that he's going to give if you go on to his book launch and you buy his book. He's already talking about the bonuses you're going to get. I'm sure he'll do more bonuses there. So he's teasing it. He's buying lots of ads. He's staying visible, and he's building a lot of anticipation. You've got to make launch day something really special. So what could you do on launch day to make sure people buy on launch day? Well, you might try scarcity. I'm going to put my 10 best paintings out on launch day. They're only going to be available for 1 hour starting at 12 noon. Things like that. You want to create urgency. You want to create scarcity. This is the only one of its kind. And you want to try to make people register. Now, I went to an art show one time, and I think what they did would work really well in a launch. This art show, outside of the home that I went to in Santa Barbara, it was a dealer's home, and there was somebody at a desk. And when we went up to the desk with our invitation, we had been sent an invitation. She said, okay, write your name and your phone number here, and we're going to let everybody in at the same time. And then if there's a dispute over a painting, the one who's on the list first wins. So we write our name down there, and then we're waiting outside. In about 10 minutes, they ring the bell. Everybody runs in. there's 100 paintings in that room, and all of those paintings sold within 15 minutes. Why? Urgency, scarcity. They made people register, and they thought, hey, I got to look around quickly because I'm further up on the list. I got to look around quickly and get it in. And so, and there were disputes over paintings. So that's all right. But you want to look for things. Talk about this for a month. Talk about it daily. Talk about it more than you think you're comfortable with. All right. Kara in Orlando. I like Orlando. Kind of a Mickey Mouse town. How do I get my first 100 Instagram followers who actually care about my art? Kara, okay, I'm going to challenge you. Why do you care if they care about your art? What does caring about your art matter? Well, I'll tell you why it matters. People don't care about you until they see how much you care about them. I'm going to say that again. People don't care about you until they see how much you care about them, right? I try to go out of my way to show my audience how much I care about them, not because I want to manipulate them, just because I do care about them. And so make sure that your content is reflecting that in some particular way. You know, make it caring content. Give them great content daily. Daily. You should be posting on Instagram daily. And you want to make it interesting, right? Chances are things don't work for people on Instagram or others because you don't have a good headline. You're not grabbing their attention. You don't have an interesting image. You want to do things that really stand out. And so start studying people who, and when you're going on Instagram, start studying people who make you pause and make you, oh, read it, right? Because it's usually an image that stops you, or a video or something on that video that stops you. And then you end up reading the caption, right? And so that's how a lot of things are sold. So give them great content daily and show them how much you care about them, and they'll start caring about you. And by the way, numbers are overrated. We have what are called vanity metrics, right? So I have a lot of vanity metrics on this YouTube show. I have, just on YouTube alone, not including all the other platforms, I have 18.2 million viewers. That and a cup of coffee will get you a cup of coffee. I mean, the reality is it's fun to talk about. I love to be able to say I've got 18 million people, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to move the needle. It's not going to make me any more money if I have 18 million or I have 2 million or 1 million or 100,000. It's not. It's nice to have it. And by the way, this show isn't designed to make money, but if it were, I'd be doing things differently. But I think that, you start out by understanding that you don't really need a lot of people. If you have 10 paintings to sell a year, how many people do you need to sell 10 paintings? Who wants to answer that question in the chat? If you have 10 paintings to sell in a year, how many people, this is not a trick question, how many people do you need to sell 10 paintings? Anybody? Go in there. Go into the chat right now. Tell me how many people you need to sell 10 paintings. Pat Morris wins. Pat Morris and Diane 𝗬𝗁𝗍𝗁 says 1. Right. You could sell all 10 paintings to one person. You don't need 10 people. So don't get hung up on numbers, right? And by the way, the first person who chimed in, Pat Morris, we're going to send you a free gift. Amandine, come up with a gift and then let me know what it is, and we're going to send you a free gift. Okay? I'll tell you what, let's send her an easel brush clip. And Pat, you're going to have to email us, and Amandine will go into the chat and tell you how to do that. And we're going to send you an easel brush clip. It's a must-have for any studio. Okay, so give them good content daily. Don't worry about numbers. These things will explode over time, and it will work for you. Just give it some time. Okay, Nor D. That's a good name. I like that, Nor. I've built a brand around one style, but I'm evolving artistically, and I want to shift direction. Good for you. Congratulations. We all get there. How do I bring my collectors with me without losing them? Well, the question might be different if you change the question to, how do I make sure I continue to be successful whether or not I lose collectors? Wouldn't that be a better question? And I'm not criticizing your question there, but how do I bring collectors with me without losing them? You're going to lose some. There are some people who, you know, they love the fact that you paint Airstream trailers, and they have collected Airstream trailer paintings their whole life, and the only thing they buy are Airstream trailer paintings. And you start painting banjos instead, you're going to lose them. Now, there are people who like your artwork, and they like you, and they like everything about your style. And so you're going to start changing and starting selling banjos. Okay, some will buy it. Now, really, in changing a style, it's pretty safe. If you watch every great artist, they evolve over time, and it doesn't usually hurt them, right? So typically, not always, most artists go from being pretty tight and pretty detailed to getting looser and looser and more abstract and looser, right? And just look at some of the great artists like 𝗬𝗏 and go back and look at his work 20 years ago. He was still pretty loose back then, but you know, he's brilliant. And so if you look at people as they evolve, people want to keep up with you. And if you're evolving, they're going to be fine with it. You're not getting stale. You're not getting boring. People want to see you evolve. I don't think I'd make any statement about it. I don't think I'd start talking about it. I just do it. And maybe do a show of the new work. You're going to lose some people. That's okay. You're going to gain new people. You're going to find new interest. And what you're going to do is you're going to be happier. You're going to be more satisfied doing what you love. Do not focus on doing what you don't love. Now, there's a point at which maybe you have to do a little of that to survive in the beginning, but focus on what you love. Don't just paint for the market. Now, I used to believe that you should paint for the market. I don't believe that anymore. So, and part of the reason is because I don't want to paint for the market, right? I could sell a lot of little red barns. I don't want to do it anymore. So, also this question, it depends a lot on how established you are. If you're established at the level of a 𝗬𝗏, you do anything you want, and people are going to buy your paintings, and they're going to believe that they're good because you did them, right? Because you've evolved. And if you've only established yourself, you know, for a year or two, and you start moving out of your niche, it might be a little harder. So that's why branding is really, really critical. Get people to know you and love you, and brand, and your brand will support anything you want to do within reason. Now, if you go from painting traditional paintings to painting far out, really, really crazy abstracts, you know, some people you're going to lose them. That's okay. But you're still going to capture some of the people who love what you do. Hey, if you're not a subscriber to this program, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and look for Art School Live. Next up, we have Elias from Spain. All right. I sell my originals regularly at a mid-range price point. I don't know what that means. And I'm almost always sold out. I know what that means. I'd like to increase my prices to reflect my demand and skill, but I'm worried about my current buyers won't come back. Should I raise my prices gradually, create more of a premium offering, or focus on finding a new audience willing to pay more? Okay. Well, I have a whole chapter on pricing in my new book. I don't have the new book out yet. It's coming soon. Pricing is very, very delicate. There's a lot of psychology behind pricing. It's very important to understand that psychology. The psychology of the brand, your brand being a strong brand will get you a higher price. Where you sell your paintings makes a difference in what kind of price you get. So one way to raise your prices is to change the environment, right? So imagine this. I always have used this line. Would you buy a Mercedes at the flea market? And the answer is no, I wouldn't. If a Mercedes was at the flea market and it was $1,500, it was a brand new Mercedes, you're going to go, something's wrong with it. But if you sell that same Mercedes in the Mercedes dealership, you know, with all the beautiful marble and pretty colors and things around you, they're going to sell it at full price and you're going to pay it, right? So environment matters. And so you might say, if I want to raise my prices, I might have to go to another price point at another place. So a friend of mine is a really very well-known painter, and she called me one day and she said, "Hey, Eric, I decided to raise my prices. I called my galleries. I told them I was raising my prices. They said, don't do it. We can't get it. She said, what should I do? I said, fire them. Move to a different gallery. Because you can't have them holding you back. She says, well, I'm a little reluctant to do that. They've been good to me. I said, I appreciate that. Which is more important to you? Do you want to make more money? Well, I do. I want to make more money. I said, just give them a chance. Say, listen, I want you to try to price it at this. If it works out, great. If not, I'm going to have to leave. They said, okay. So she tried. They didn't do it. So she gave them a chance. And so she put them in another gallery immediately. They raised her prices higher than she was going to raise them, and they all sold immediately. Right? So I would be less worried about your current buyers. You're going to get some of them. And by the way, your buyers want your price to go up. Your buyers typically want the paintings that they own to go up in value. So, and you know, eggs are more money today than they were a year ago. Maybe less than a year ago, but because they're going down again, but they're still high. So I would be less worried about this. I believe that every artist should raise their prices once a year, no matter what. Just make it a habit. You know, ask yourself, how much has my cost of living gone up? And if it's 20%, raise your prices by 20%. Because that way you're at least getting paid your worth. And because $10 last year doesn't buy as much as $10. $10 today doesn't buy as much as $10 last year. So don't worry about your current buyers. You'll lose some. But by the way, the difference in margin is how much money you make on something, a percentage. The difference in margin, if you could sell fewer paintings for more money and make more money. Just saying. So I wouldn't worry about that stuff too much. You might have to find a new audience, but so what? It's okay. All right, here is a, let's see, what do we have here? Okay, we have a free gift for you. Free gift is a free video. It's called 97 Incredible Art Secrets from the World's Finest Artists. It's a really good video. It's a couple hours long. It's a sampling of some of the great videos we've done at painttube.tv. And it's really worth it. And you can instantly stream it. Don't do it until this show's over. Just go to 97artsecrets.com/ASL. If you're a DVD person, pay the shipping. Okay. We have an event coming up. It's called Gouache Live. It's pretty incredible. It's coming up on the 23rd of August. It's not too long from now. It's a one-day, all-day event. It's a Saturday event. And we have Scott Christensen and a lot of other amazing artists who are teaching. You can go to Gouache Live and see the list. And I'm even going to teach gouache as a bonus content for those of you who sign up and for certain categories. And so go to Gouache Live. It's going to be amazing. Everybody's doing gouache these days, and there's a reason. It's awesome. So gouachelive.com. All right. Now, here's from a list from a question from Anonymous. By the way, let's see here. If there's anybody in the comments. Okay. Hard to read these. If you change your style, how do you sell your older work? Or is it trash can for them? No, just sell it. I mean, just keep it out there. I cringe sometimes when I see my older work because it's like I grow all the time, which you should be doing too. But you know what? I tell this story all the time. I was in one of my galleries. I don't have this gallery anymore because the owner died. This wonderful woman is giving me a tour of the gallery. I had artwork hanging in there, and some of it was pretty old. And we're walking up the stairs, and there's a big piece that I had painted probably 10 years earlier. And I started to say, let's take that off the wall and burn it because it really isn't up to my quality anymore. Before I said that, thank goodness I didn't say it, she said, this is my favorite painting in the gallery. And she said, actually, I'm making payments to buy this painting. So I'm really glad I didn't trash it because to her, it was a beautiful painting. To me, I had moved on. So, there's a market for everything. And so just keep it out there. Don't worry about that. Here is a question from Anonymous. I've collected hundreds of emails over the years, but I've never sent a newsletter. How do I reintroduce myself without it feeling awkward? By awkward, I would assume, Anonymous, you mean all of a sudden you're showing up because you've had their email. Well, there's a couple of things you want to first off realize. If people have given you their email without having opted into something, you can send them an email one time. You can send them a private email as much as you want. But if you're sending a promotional email, you can send it one time and ask them to opt in. And a lot of those emails will be bad and gone, or people, there's attrition, people move, they die, they change email services, etc. So some of them are going to bounce back. And you want to be really careful about that, because whatever your email provider is, if you get high bounce backs, it's a score against you, and that will, in the future, they won't deliver as much of your stuff. So what I would recommend you do is I'd do it gradually. I would take 2 or 3 people at a time on your list, depending on how big your list is. My list is 200,000. I can't do that. But I would 2 or 3 people at a time say, hey, remember me, I'm the artist that did this or whatever. And I am really excited because I'm starting a new newsletter that's going to focus on this. Tell them something they want to hear, not about you. And I don't want to just send it to you randomly, but if you want to sign up for it, click this button. And that way, you do 2 or 3 at a time, take it slow, and you're going to get some that aren't going to be deliverable. But if you do a big group of emails that aren't deliverable, it's going to hurt you. So I think that, how do you reintroduce yourself? I would say I would do a letter about why I decided to do a newsletter. And again, make it something that's about them, not about you. I decided to do a newsletter because, by the way, everything in life, in marketing life anyway, is about a story, right? So come up with a story, and make it a true story. You can embellish it, but don't lie to anybody. But I keep running into people on the streets, and they remember me. You're the artist that I saw at the art show, and how come I never see any of your work anymore? You're not doing the art show anymore. And I realized that I wasn't putting myself out there enough. And so I decided I'd do a monthly newsletter. And in the newsletter, I don't want it to be all about me. So I decided I'm going to tell the stories of some famous artists along with it. And then I'm going to tell you why my art kind of identifies with those artists. And, make it something that's folksy and wonderful, and everybody's going to love it. And they're all going to say, yeah, I would love to do that. So put that letter out there kind of as you're fishing to get them to sign up for your newsletter, and then get them to sign up. All right. Matt from Massachusetts. I've just started painting seriously. I want to start selling online. I have no idea where to begin. Between Etsy, Instagram, my own website, and local markets, it's overwhelming. How do I choose the right first step for selling my art without wasting time or spreading myself too thin? All right, Matt, there's a lot of questions to unpack in there, and this is for anybody who wants to start selling art. Do not, as I said earlier, if you missed it, go back. Do not start with tactic. Start with strategy. Who's going to buy my art? Why do I want to sell my art? Now, you're going to waste a lot of time. You said, I want to do it without wasting time. You're going to either spend money and you're going to waste money, or you're going to spend time and you're going to waste time. It's okay to waste time. Believe me, I waste plenty of time. And that's where you learn, right? So what I would recommend, first off, Scott or Matt, what I would recommend first off is try to get a feel for if anybody even wants to buy your art. Is there interest in it? I once did an art show and nobody bought anything. And that made me think, okay, there's a problem. The problem is one of 2 or 3 things. They don't like my art. They don't like my framing. They don't like my price, right? So, but what happened is I started thinking about my art show. Not very many people even came into the tent. They kind of breezed by. And so I had a problem. I had an attraction problem I had to solve. I did the next art show and I solved the attraction problem. People came into the tent. I also brought some stuff out. So that was not the problem. Then I sold a bunch of stuff. So sometimes you just got to kind of learn. So you want to find out if there's interest. So I would recommend that you try to find a venue locally just to get a feel for it. It might be a community gallery. It might be doing an art show. It might be putting on a little show at a diner or something, I would just get some different styles out there, different pieces, see what people buy, only put out things that you want to put out, that you want to paint, and just kind of get used to it. I would start small. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to do it online. Online is very effective for some people, but it's overrated for some people, right? It just depends on your strategy. The next thing is find out where art buyers are hanging out. And art buyers depends on, like let's say you do a show in a restaurant, and you have that show up, and you have an opening in the restaurant, and you're there, and people buy your art. It's a chance to talk to them. Hey, where do you live? What do you do for a living? What was it about this piece of art that attracted you? You can ask questions like that, and those questions are invaluable because customers have all the answers to all the questions. So talk to people. And if you get a chance to talk to people, then that's going to help you. The problem with moving to an online platform like Etsy or something else is you're competing with literally millions of people, and the game isn't really about selling something. The game is really about attracting people, right? So that means you got to have the right keywords. And if you're on Etsy, you got to do the right advertising to get them to come to you, because there's literally, I don't know, I'm guessing 2 million stores in there. And so how are they going to find you? And I looked on Etsy one time, and I Googled paintings, and there's still like 2 million painters in there. And it's like, okay, it's overwhelming. And there are people who are successful, and I think Etsy is a great place, don't get me wrong, but kind of get used to things first. Find out where people are. I always tell people, go stand in the river where the money is flowing. Find out where the money is flowing, right? I have a magazine called Fine Art Connoisseur. It's got a lot. It doesn't have a lot of subscribers. It's still a big number, but it's not like mega numbers, but it has a lot of really, really rich people who buy art. And that's a good thing, right? So I would focus on, try to understand things that are, understand the customers. Okay, a couple of things coming up that you need to know about if you're interested in selling your art at the next level and really taking it to a high level. Last year, I did a thing called Art Business Mastery Day. I brought on 8 or 10 guests, top experts in different areas of business and marketing for artists. And Art Business Mastery Day was a big hit. We had thousands of people on. We've heard from people that it's revolutionized their lives. And you can go to artbizmastery.com to sign up for the next event, which is coming in November. But you can also buy the replays for the last event. I highly recommend you watch the last event, because we're not going to cover the same stuff. And that way you'll be able to talk about planning and goal setting and a lot of other things, advertising. And then we have a bunch of new experts we're going to be announcing soon that are going to transform your art career. And we are possibly going to be doing it from a remote location, possibly even with a live audience. We're working on that. We don't know the answer yet, but it may be happening. So we'll let you know. So go to artbizmastery.com. I've been getting a lot of people asking me about my new book. Well, here's the deal. I have a book. It's called Make More Money Selling Your Art. It's out of print. You cannot buy it. You might be able to buy a copy on eBay or something, but it's out of print. And they came to me and they said, do you want to reprint this book? And I said, no, I don't. And they said, why? I said, because a lot of the information is old. Things have changed. And so I rewrote the book completely. Took several months to do it. And I added 500 new pages, but I also changed a lot that was in the other pages. So it's essentially a new book. It's coming out soon. I don't have a cover picture to show you. I don't even know when it's coming out. I don't have any information to tell you, but I will tell you this. It will really help you. And it's going to be, $30 or something. So pretty good. Anyway, that is today's Art Marketing Monday. We gave you earlier a free gift. I'll tell you about it one more time. It's 97 incredible art secrets from the world's leading masters. And you can find it at 97artsecrets.com/ASL. Now, here's something I want you guys to do. I want you to think about what was said today. And I want you to go into the comments, because I read every comment. after the show, especially one like this where I can't be on it. And I want to know what was helpful to you. Was there a breakthrough in here? Was there something you learned that was helpful to you? Was there something you need more depth on and want to understand more so I can dig into it in a future show? What was it that resonated with you? Go into the comments and make sure that you tell us what resonated. Now, we're here every weekday at 12 noon. We've been here since COVID began, way back. We've got thousands of shows. If you watch any 5 of our shows, Mondays are all marketing. You're going to learn about marketing. Fridays are about critiques and feedback. You're going to learn about feedback. And in between, we have guest artists Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and they're teaching painting. You watch any 5 of those shows, you can learn to paint. You can overcome this belief that you can't do it. You can do it. We have literally had millions of people learn to paint because they're watching this program. That's the goal. We want you to learn to paint, and you can do this. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel. One more time, just go to YouTube and look up Art School Live. Even if you're watching on Instagram or Facebook or X, or, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitch, we're on a million different platforms. And we love you guys. We're really glad that you're here. And we want you to stay confident. You can do this. And come back, please. We are honored when you come and spend time with us. My name is Eric Rhodes, and I will see you tomorrow.